Welcome, hobby enthusiasts, to the first Kill Team battle report on this channel. I'm Banner here at Minimal Tabletop, and today I'm playing a game of Kill Team Elites with my sister. We play the mission Recover Intelligence from the Kill Team basic rulebook on page 58. There are 5 objective markers. You get points by controlling them at the end of the round. Objectives near your own deployment zone give 1 point, objectives near the opposing deployment zone give 2 points. The middle objective is worth 3 points. Magos Logis Hexion Asphos of the Adeptus Mechanicus of the Forgeworld Orcus has noticed a decrease in the mining of component 24 Alpha in one of the countless mines of the planet. When the service skulls he had sent off to investigate the phenomenon did not return, he dispatched an elite team of Skitarian Electro Priests. These should find out why the mineral supply collapsed and neutralize possible dangers. But they were expected, and got caught in an ambush of the Genestealer cult which had undermined the mine hidden from sight. The members of the cult had to prevent the Magi of the Forge World from knowing of their existence at all costs, and they were ready to do everything in their power to achieve this goal. Will the task force of the Forge World manage to survive the ambush and inform the Magos about the evil doings of the cult? Or will the Genestealer cult silence the voices of the machine soldiers in order to get one step closer to the Great Uprising? We start the game with the scouting phase. The Genestealer cult may take forward positions, AdMech may scout out enemy forces. Now we roll for strategic advantage that the Genestealer cult gets just barely. Once set up, the battlefield looks like this. With the deployment zones of this mission, neither of us had that much leeway. My sister chose deployment zone B for her Genestealer cult, I chose deployment zone A for the AdMech kill team. Since I chose scout out enemy forces in the scouting phase, I held back the 2 electric priests until the end to set them up. The 2 infiltrators are in tactical reserve. The cultists are huddled together and the melee units are mostly aggressive in the front to quickly cross the battlefield and get to the enemy. Before the first round of the battle starts, my sister wants to move her Genestealer veteran behind the rock in the middle, because she has chosen take forward positions in the scouting phase. Then she rolls a die for all cultists that she would like to move with her cold ambush ability before the game. Unfortunately, not a single 5 has been rolled. This brings us to battle round 1, and it starts with the initiative phase. With a 6, the disciples of the Omnissiah secured the initiative. In my movement phase, I move some of my Skitari so that they control the 2 objectives near my deployment zone. The rest of the models move forward, mostly trying to be obscured for most of the cult units with guns. I use the stratagem Trauma Override Protocols on the Corpuscari Priest, which gives him a 4+ invuln save. Then I announce a charge with the Fulgurite Priest on the veteran Genestealer. A 7 is enough. On a 6, the Electric Priest would cause a mortal wound. Unfortunately not. During the movement phase, the cult is spread across the battlefield and the leader hides behind a rock. Some of the neophytes get ready and the Aberrant charges and successfully comes into close combat. The Acolyte with the heavy rock cutter also wants to charge, but stumbles. The same thing happens to the Metamorph. The rest of the cultists run towards the objectives to gain control of the battlefield. The neophyte who is ready shoots a fragment grenade. He has 3 shots that hit on 6, long range and obscured, but unfortunately completely misses the Skitari sniper. Next up is the Corpuscari Priest. The Comp Specialist gives him +1 to his hit roll, which allows him to hit on freeze again over long range. 2 hits. Wounds are 3, no wound. Now the neophyte shoots 4 shots, which shoots on 6s with his seismic cannon, concealed in long range. 1 hit. Wounding on a 4, no wound. Next, a Skitarii gunner shoots at the Metamorph hybrid with his plasma caliber. And with a double 6, he hits twice. Now wound on the 2+, 2 wounds. With AP -3, the Metamorph has no armor. The weapon does 1 damage, so 1 die for the injury roll. A 2 means a flesh wound. The neophyte with the mining laser aims at the Skitarii who has just shot, and misses at 3 because he would have needed a 6 to hit. Next up, the AdMech Sniper Specialist shoots with his overloaded plasma caliber. Due to the comp's Omni specs, he ignores the penalty to hit for obscure targets, so he hits twice. He wounds on 2+, 1 wound. No armor for the neophyte, so with a 5 he's taken out. That's it with the seismic cannon. Next, one of the Skitarii fires at long range with his radium carbine. He hits on 5+, long range and obscured. 1 hit. The 1 definitely does not wound, however. Perhaps his comrade will have better luck with his plasma caliber. Double 6, if that's not luck. 2 wounds on 2+. Injury roll, and on the 5 the neophyte with grenade launcher bites the dust. And now for the combat phase. 2 command points for decisive strike. The Genestealer can fight first, but misses everything. Now the Fulgurite melee specialist strikes back on his attacker. 2 hits on 3+, and 1 wound on 3+. But a 5+ invuln save from the pesky Genestealer. Now it's hammer time. The Aberrant strikes and misses both times. I don't think anyone wanted to hurt anyone in this hand-to-hand combat. In the morale phase, only the Metamorph would have to take a nerf test, but with a morale of 8 he can currently pass it automatically, as only 2 models of his team are out of action. At the end of round 1, AdMech and Genestealer Cult each control the 2 mission objectives near their deployment zone. According to the current score, both are currently tied with 2 points each. In the second round, the initiative goes to the Genestealer Cult. I spend 1 command point for decisive move and charge the Aberrant with the Corpuscari Priest. Unfortunately now also no mortal wound on a 6. The mining laser gunner is getting ready. The leader and another neophyte do the same. The Genestealer behind the container wants to charge the Skitarii who cannot see him. The 3 is not enough for this, but thanks to his ability, swift and deadly, he can repeat the roll and now successfully charges the sniper and comm specialist. The Acolyte with his heavy rockstar runs towards the center of the battlefield and takes cover behind the rock. Since the tactical reserves can emerge from the second round onwards, the demolition specialist gets ready with his flamer. The other cultists charge as well to support their brothers in the fight against the Electro Priests. The soldiers of the Omnissiah want to establish their control of the battlefield. A plasma caliber Skitarii gunner moves towards the objective. The Skitarii Alpha prepares to join the carnage dominating the center of the battlefield and courageously charges the Metamorph hybrid. Empowered by the motive force of the machine god, the Skitarii vanguard runs furiously into the midst of battle and takes on the central objective. the Plasma Caliber Skitarii gunner moves into an advantageous firing position while continuing to control one of the objectives. Now the infiltrators appear from the shadows to bestow fear unto the opponents of the machine god, outside of 5 inches of any more models for 1 command point. The neophyte gunner with mining laser has the infiltrator Princeps in his sights and hits with a 5+. Unfortunately, he cannot wound with a 1. The neophyte leader has no target to shoot at. The neophyte who is ready to fire shoots the Skitarii in the middle with his autogun, but unfortunately does not hit because this target is obscured. Now his brother is shooting at the same target and misses both times because his target is obscured. The Skitarii gunner aims his Plasma Caliber at the Acolyte hybrid with Rockstar. He hits twice on 3+, and he wounds once on a 2+. Without an armor save, the Acolyte is eliminated with a 5 on the injury roll. The infiltrator Princeps aims his flechette blaster at the neophytes near the objective. Since they are within 2 inches of each other, he can distribute his shots between the 2 of them. 2 on the autogun, 3 on the mining laser. 2 hits on 4+ on the neophyte with autogun. 2 wounds with 4+. The neophyte doesn't make his 5+ armor save. A 4+ injury roll kills him. The next Skitarii gunner wants to take the objective from the cult. He hits once on a 4+ with his Plasma Caliber, but unfortunately cannot wound on 2+. The Skitarii in the middle now fires on the same neophyte with his Radium Carbine. 3 hits on 4+ and 2 wounds on a 4+. The neophyte couldn't make a 5+ armor save. With a 4+ injury roll, he is eliminated. After this brutal shooting phase, only a few cult members are left. But now we go into the fight phase. The Acolyte fighter with heavy rock cutter attacks the Fulgurite priest. 1 hit on 4+. With a strength of 8, he successfully wounds him on a 2+. The priest fails to make his 5+ invuln save. He can't ignore the wounds on 5+ either. On a 2+, the rock cutter would have taken him out. But the injury roll with 4+ does the rest. The Acolyte consolidates 3 inches. Now it's the turn of the Skitarii Alpha. He hits on 4+, and thanks to the Canticle of Anusaya, he can reroll once in the combat phase, but it's still only 1 hit. With a 5 he successfully wounds, and with -3 AP the Metamorph has no armor save. With injury roll 4+, the Metamorph hybrid is gone. The Alpha consolidates 3 inches, but is smart enough not to go into combat with the Aberrant Beast and stays outside of 1 inch. Now the Corpuscari priest strikes on 4+. He may repeat once to hit this round. Still 1 hit. With a 1 on the wound roll, however, he cannot even tickle the beast. Now it's the Genestealer's turn, and he successfully hits the sniper with 2 attacks. He wounds with a 6, making his attack AP -4. Now the only thing that could save the Skitarii is the 6-up bionic invuln save, which he manages to very get. The Genestealer then misses its last attack on the comp specialist. Did someone say hammer? The bestial Aberrant attacks the electric priest, 2 hits on 4+. With strength 10 he wounds on 2+, 1 wound. The 2 cannot save the priest, and he cannot ignore the wounds either. With 3 damage, that means 3 dice for the injury roll, so the electric priest is now hummus. The beast consolidates towards the Skitarii Alpha. The comms specialist attacks the Genestealer with his attack and hits on a 4+. And the 5 wounds too. The 3 is not enough for the invuln save. And with a 6, the Skitarii heroically kills the monstrous alien. With such severe losses, the Genestealer cultists have to test whether they are broken. The Genestealer veteran currently has the highest morale value with 9. Everything below that passes the test. Since neither side is broken and no one else has flesh wounds, no further nerve tests need to be taken. At the end of the second round, AdMech controls 2 objectives near the deployment zone and the middle objective. The Genestealer cult does not control any objective. Therefore the score at the beginning of third round is 7 for AdMech and 2 for the cult. It doesn't look good for the followers of the Genestealer cult, but maybe they can score in the next round. At least the initiative goes directly to the cult. But first I use decisive move. But my sister wants to prevent that and uses the same tactic. But I win the roll-off and am allowed to move with 1 model first. The Skitarii Vanguard charges the Genestealer and Acolyte. An 11 is more than sufficient, and now I can prevent these 2 models from moving freely this turn, which was my plan all along. The Demolition Specialist Neophyte moves towards the objective to hold it and to get line of sight on the Infiltrator at the same time as well. The Aberrant wants to stay in combat, and the 2 cultists which were charged cannot move anyway. The leader of the cultists daringly climbs over the rock onto the objective to hold it. The Neophyte gunner with the mining laser comes to his aid and offers his master protection from enemy fire. One of the Skitarii gunners tactically withdraws a bit, still holding the objective. Skitarii Alpha has proven his skill in hand-to-hand combat, but has no death wish and therefore withdraws from the Aberrant. The Sniper and Comm Specialist both get ready. So does the other Skitarii Gunner, as well as the Infiltrator Princeps. The other Infiltrator jumps onto the middle objective with his 8-inch movement to hold it in the name of the Machine God. 2 command points for decisive shot for the Neophyte Gunner with Mining Laser, who fires at the Infiltrator in the middle and hits on a 5+. A 2+ is a wound, and with AP-3 he only has a 6+ invuln, which he fails. D6 damage for 2, and on a 6 for the injury roll the Infiltrator is wiped out. Now the Skitarii Gunner is firing his overloaded plasma caliber at the Neophyte leader, a hit on a 4+ at long range, and a wound on 2+. With -3 AP and a 5 on the injury roll, he is eliminated. The Comm Specialist gives the Sniper +1 to his hit roll and lets him ignore cover with his Omnispecs. The target is the Aberrant. He hits twice with overloaded plasma, and he wounds once. The Aberrant reduces the damage taken by 1, which is why it only loses 1 of its 2 wounds. The Comm Specialist shoots at the same target and hits once on 4+ with his Radium Carbine because the beast is obscured. He cannot wound with the 2, however. The Infiltrator Princeps opens fire on the Neophyte Demolition Specialist. He is out of half range with his Flechette Blaster, but hits 4 times on 4+, and wounds 2 times. The Demo Specialist does not make his 5+ armor save, and with a 6 he is eliminated. The last Plasma Gunner tries again to eliminate the Aberrant with overloaded shots. He hits once with a 5, and also wounds successfully on a 4. Without an armor save and with a 4 on the injury roll, the abnormal beast burns in searing plasma fire. It looks pretty grim for the Colt after their shooting phase, but now comes the combat phase. The Skitarii attacks the Acolyte fighter with a single attack, and misses. The Genestealer now attacks him and hits on 3+ twice. He wounds twice, and on the 6th the attack has AP-4. The Skitarii gets neither armor nor bionic save. With a 1 on the injury roll, however, he only gets a flesh wound. The 2 hits with the Rock Cutter could be his gruesome death though. 2 wounds on 2+. -4 AP means an invul save of 6+. Not this time. With the 4 he was definitely cut to pieces. Snap snap. The Acolyte fighter consolidates to the Skitarii Alpha. With only 3 remaining models, the Colt has to test again whether it has been shaken. The Genestealer has a morale value of 9, 6 is lower, so not shaken. At the end of round 3, the Skitarii control 2 objectives near their deployment. The Colt controls 1 objective near the deployment zone, so the score is 9 AdMech and 3 Genestealer Colt. Will the Colt catch up again? On to round 4. The Colt clearly secures the initiative. The mining laser gunner gets ready. The Genestealer veteran attacks the Skitarii comms and sniper, both of whom cannot see him, and successfully enters combat with an 8. The Skitarii Alpha is getting ready. Plasma Gunner 1 and Plasma Gunner 2 do the same thing. The Princeps runs towards the middle objective and takes it. The Neophyte Gunner tries to shoot the Princess off the middle objective. The Stratagem Density Analysis lenses is used for the last 2 command points of the Colt. This gives the Acolyte +1 on the hit roll against targets that are obscured. So he successfully hits on 4+, 2+ wounds as well. With AP-3, the only save left for the Princess is a 6+ bionic save. That he gets. The Alpha shoots with his arc pistol, hits and wounds, -1 AP, but the 6 is a successful armor save. The tough Acolyte shoots his auto pistol and misses. He'd rather kill him in hand-to-hand combat, I suppose. The Skitarii Gunner targets the Neophyte Gunner. 2 shots with plasma that hit on 4+, and 2 wounds on 2+. Without armor, the Neophyte Gunner is eliminated with the 4. The last Skitarii Gunner is not allowed to shoot in combat and therefore has no more targets to fire at. Now it's the combat phase. First, the Genestealer veteran attacks the sniper with all his attacks and hits 3 times, but cannot even wound once. 3 ones. That's bad luck. Now for the scissors. The Acolyte attacks with the Rock Cutter and hits once on 4+. He wounds on 6. The saving throw doesn't save the Alpha this time. With the 5, the Skitarii Alpha is brutally cut into small pieces. Snap snap. The Acolyte consolidates to the comms and sniper. Now the comms hits back and misses. The sniper does the same. The Colt now has to test again whether it is shaken. They have not lost their courage yet. After round 4, AdMech controls 2 mission objectives close to their own deployment zone and the middle objective. The Colt cannot claim any objective for itself. The score is 14 AdMech and 3 Genestealer Colt. At the end of the 4th battle round, the player with the greatest strategic advantage, which is my sister, rolls the dice to see whether the battle continues on a 3+. On a 1, the game ends, and the warriors of the Omnissiah have successfully fought off the Colt and conveyed the news to the Magos about the Colt activity in the mines. It was a super fun game for both of us, with great unexpected twists and turns, and a lot of luck and bad luck. Unfortunately, it was only at the very end that we realized that we had completely forgotten the 6+ invuln saving throw from the Cult of the Bladed Cock. It was the first kill team game for my sister, and I think she did very well. So I hope you can forgive us for some mistakes that we may not have noticed. But please let me know in the comments if some rules have been misinterpreted during the game. I'm really looking forward to the discussions in the comments. The winners of the second round of the Indomitus Grab Bag giveaway can now see their names here. Congratulations! Please contact me at the email address shown so that I can send your prize to you. I hope you enjoyed it. Until next time.